Hello and welcome back to Globesweeper Hex Puzzler. Today I'm gonna start with a level that I was hoping I could fit in last time, but I guess I didn't end up having time, and that is 8 here. Before we go back all the way here to these cluster levels, we'll see what I have time for today, but let's start with 8. It's just a simple area level, but it's kind of tricky. There's a lot of little mini puzzles here. So, this first one is relatively simple. You just start by looking at the 6. There are 6 tiles here, so all of them have to be marked. And then we look at this 8. We have 6 tiles already. In these 5 tiles, we will need 2 more. And then we look at this 8, which also has all 6 of these, and also will need 2 more in these 5, completing this area clue, which means these outside tiles cannot be marked. And that gives us a 3 here, so we can mark these. And that in turn gives us the 2 that we needed for these 2 8s, so these tiles are removed. Now we get these 2 for the 2, and this tile for the 3, which in turn completes this 4 clue, and the 2 clue, doesn't really matter. And there we go. Pretty simple stuff there. Now over here, you have to look at the 1 tile here, or 1 area, as well as the 4 area here. So in the overlap, in all of these 5 tiles, we can at most have 1, or we need 1. And then if we look at this 4 area, we can have, in this area we need 4. And we can at most have 3 outside of the area that overlaps the 1. So we will need at least 1 out of these 2 tiles for this 4. And because we can only use 1, that means that we have to mark these 3 tiles. And we'll need 1 here, completing this 1, so these tiles have to be removed. That gets us a 1 here, so we get to mark that and unmark this one. Now onward here, we kind of created a very similar thing. This 3 now has 2 tiles already marked, which means it's essentially a 1. So out of these 3 tiles, we can have 1, and then we look at this 4, we can have 3 here, and then we will need a 4th one within the area of the 3, which will complete it, so this tile can't be marked, and these 3 tiles must be marked. Now we got a 2 here, so we can mark that and unmark this. Finally, this 3, since we removed these tiles early on with a 1, only has 3 more tiles, so we can mark all of them, and that in turn completes this 4, so this little area is done. Right here, we can start at the 6 area here. Right here, we have 4 tiles, and here we have 2 tiles. None of them overlap, so that means we will in total have 6 tiles in these tiles, so none of these other tiles can be marked. That gets us a 2 here, and a 2 here, completing this 1, and then we get the 2 there, and now this is complete, and the 3 here is 0, and this 3 here, which completes this 1, and like so. Now, finally, you basically don't need anything more here, like you don't need this 6 really, you could use it, and you can also use this one, but really we can just look at the 4 and the 2 here. So the 4 needs 2 more tiles here, the 2 can only have 1 more tile maximum here, so the 4 needs this tile, 1 more here, which will in turn complete this 2, and we can remove this tile, which gets us a 1, which we can then remove, so we can remove this tile, and then mark this tile. But yeah, you could have also looked at the 6 here, to see that this tile was necessary, so there's like many different solutions to all of these. Right here, we get 3 tiles here. This one is also pretty tricky. Probably should have left this one for later, I think. I don't know how I normally have this one rotated. It's kind of hard when you're like solving these. In practice, I have them rotated one way, and then it's hard to think about them in a different way, but whatever, this is fine. So, we start by looking at this 8 here. So we have 3 tiles already. We know we need 1 more tile here, so that's 4 total. And then within these 6 tiles here, we need 4 more tiles for this 8 area. Now, the tricky part here, I think this is how I normally had it. The tricky part here is looking at these 2 5s. They are completely identical. Here we have a 2 clue and a 1 clue. Here we have a 2 clue and a 1 clue. And if we count the 5 here, while keeping in mind the overlap between the 8 here, we have, for the 5, 1 tile here, 2 tiles here, so 3 total, and then we can at maximum have 2 tiles within this overlapped area. And then, similarly, here we have 2, 1, and then maximum 2. And since we counted here at the 8, and we had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we need at least 2 in this area and 2 in this area, and we can at most have 2 in this area and 2 in this area. So we can't use only 1 tile here, because then we would need 3 tiles here, which would make 6 tiles for this 5. So both of these areas of 3 will need the remaining 2 tiles from the 5s, which means these 3 tiles that are not connected to the 2, the 1, or the 8 cannot be marked. It's kind of confusing. Honestly, I'm like confusing myself saying this, but I hope that makes sense. That now gets us a 4, and this 4, which completes these 2s. You can mark that, unmark that, and this is just basic tile solving here. And now this 5 is already done, so this tile can't be marked, which gets us that, and removes that, and removes that. This one, I think we just look at the 2 and 7, do we? Yeah, I believe so. So here, within this area of the 2, we have 2 tiles, and that means in this shared area between the 7 and 2, we can at most use 2 of these 5 tiles. So, if we use 2 tiles here, then how many tiles do we have left? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that means we have to mark all of the outer tiles, and we will need 2 of these tiles, completing the 2, so none of these tiles can be marked. That gets us some zeros, and just solve this stuff normally, no problem. Now, this 4 already has 4 tiles, so it's done. And then, once again, solve this normally. And then here, right here, we have 3 tiles for this 4. We need 1 more tile out of these 2. But on this 5, we have 4 tiles, and we need 1 more out of these 3. But since we know that one of these 2 will be marked, that will in turn complete this 5, which means this tile cannot be marked, and we get a 1 that lets us remove this tile and mark this tile. This one, you would think you would look at the 1 and the 7 here, but you actually don't. You instead look at the 1 and the 5. So in this area, we have 1 tile, which means in this shared area, we can at most have 1 tile. And if you count the 5, 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have to mark all of these 4 tiles outside of it, and we will need the 1 tile in here, so the 1 will be completed, and we can't have any of these tiles marked outside of the shared area. Now this 1 lets us know that the tile is right here, which completes the 2 area clues. This 1 is done, and then this 3 is done. Right, 2 more. This one, we start with an 8 here at the edge, because this one just has 8 tiles, so all of these are marked. Now, what did we do now? This one is kind of tricky, I remember. Right, yeah. We look at this 8 that now has 6 tiles marked. So in this entire area that's left, we can at most have 2 tiles. If we now open the 4, that means that in this shared area of 6 tiles, we can at most have 2 tiles marked. And this 4 only has these 6 plus 2 tiles available. So we will need 2 tiles here, and we do need these 2 tiles to complete the 4, which in turn means that this 8 cannot use any of these 3 tiles. That now gives us a 2 here, completing the 3, and here we can once again check, we have 1, 2, 3, we need 1 of these 3, completing the 4, so this tile cannot be marked. And then this 3 lets us mark these tiles, which in turn completes this 3 area clue. This 1 is already done, this 3 lets us mark these 2, this 3 is now done, and finally this tile is marked. Oh, I thought that was the last one. Never mind. Okay, anticlimactic. Right, this one. Yeah, this one is probably the single hardest one here, I would say. So, to start this one, we look at this 6, and we have to keep in mind all of the overlap here. So we start counting at this 3. Within these 4 tiles, we need 3 marked tiles. And then for this 3, if we ignore this tile, because we don't know whether that's marked or not, we have 3 tiles here, and then within these 3 tiles, we know we need at least 2 more tiles, right? Because regardless of whether this one is marked or not, we will at least for this 3 need 2 more tiles. So we have 3 tiles here, 2 more tiles here, at least, making 5 minimum and 6 maximum. And then here for this 2, we can have this tile marked, but regardless of whether this is marked or not, we still need 1 more tile completing this 2 here. So we get 3 tiles here, plus minimum 2 tiles, plus minimum 1 tile, completing this 6 area clue, which means these 2 tiles for the 1 cannot be marked, or there's not enough for the 3 and this 3 and this 2. Now because of that, we get these 2 1s here. And this is also a little tricky, but if you just think about what these 2 1s can have, if this tile is marked for these 2 1s, both of them would be fulfilled, and this tile would be gone, and this tile would be gone, leaving only 1 lonely little tile for this 2, which doesn't work. So this shared tile between the 2 1s cannot be marked. We can remove it, and then mark these 2 tiles. And then we can just solve this normally up until that point. This 3 now only has 3 more tiles. And now we look at the 4 here. We have 3 tiles marked. We only need 1 more tile in this entire area. But for this 3, we need 2 more tiles out of these 3. So we have to mark the outside tile. And then we need 1 of these 2, meaning this 4 will be complete. So none of these tiles can be marked. That gets us a 1 here. Let's mark that and remove this tile. This 2 is already done. And then finally the 5 here has 3 tiles and needs 2 more tiles. So there we go. Not quite as hard to explain as the previous level, I feel, but still, they're getting tougher. Now, let's get on with Triangle Weave. Hey, it's future me again! We're really getting to know each other. So I did the whole walkthrough for this level, and then towards the end, like 80% in, I messed up. Just like clicked the wrong button even though my reasoning was correct, and I figured I don't want to have that in the walkthrough, so I redid everything a second time, but the second time I was kind of tired and frustrated at that, so I just don't feel like I explained it as well as the first time, so we're here a third time. Let's explain this one properly. It's quite a doozy. This one can be a little hard to follow along with. I'll do my best to not like flail around everywhere across the puzzle. So, we start off by looking at this 9 area clue here, and in this area we have 4 tiles for this 4, and then if we count the 9 here, we have 4 tiles here, we know we'll need 3 more tiles here for this 3, and we need 2 more tiles for this 2, so 4, 7, and 9. So all of these tiles will contain all of the tiles for the 9 area, so the ones outside of these tiles cannot be marked, like this. Now, I would recommend just ignoring all of the area clues for as long as you can in this level, pretty much at all points. Just, they are the last resort. Focus on just solving what the tiles tell you. So we'll just do that normally, and I'm not gonna explain like too much about this basic tile solving, because you should know it by now, I think. So here is a first little tricky thing, but we've seen this in the past. This 3 cluster clue needs either this tile or this tile. Those are the only 2 options for it, and because of that, both of those border this tile, so this tile has to be removed. If it's not, then this 3 will have no way to complete itself without becoming a 4 cluster. So because we need one of these, we can remove this one. And that gets us a 1. And because we have a 1, we know we need one of these 2 tiles, which will complete the 1, so these 3 tiles cannot be marked. That gets us a 0 here. Now completing the cluster clue here. And now we just solve these like normal. And that's as far as we can take that. So let's look elsewhere here. Can't do anything here. Here we get 2. And now this thing we'll see quite a lot here. We have a 6 cluster clue, cluster tile. We have 1 tile. It has to go here for 2, which completes this 2, so we can remove this one. And then it has to go here for 3, which completes this 2, and gives us a 4, which means we have to mark all 3 of these, completing the 6 cluster, and we can disconnect it from everything else. And then we get to that part, and here we have a 1. Just solve this as far as you can. Same deal here. 4 cluster clue, we have 1, we need 2, that completes the 2, so we remove it, then we need 3, which completes the 2, so we remove this one, and now we have 3 tiles in the 4 cluster, we need 1 more, and our only options are this tile or this tile. So once again, either way, this tile has to be removed since it borders both of them. And that, again, gives us a 1, and we know one of these will be marked, so these 2 tiles cannot be marked. Now we get a 2 here, which completes this 1, and completes this 4 cluster. Can't say anything here. And we left some stuff unfinished up here, so let's continue on with that. Until that point, and now I think we are done here. And now we can look at this 9 here. So now we have to start looking at the area clues, and this is where it gets a little confusing, like where you should look next, so I'll try and keep it like calm as much as I can. So here we have a 9 area clue, we have 4 clues, 4 tiles in it already, we have 7 tiles, we have 9 tiles, so these 3 tiles cannot be marked. And then we just solve these like normal. Same deal here, we have a 3 cluster clue, we need either this tile or this tile, so either way this one can't be marked, yet again giving us a 1, so we know it's one of these and not these 2. And then we get a 0 here, so continue on this way. Let's go down this way, because it's a dead end right there. And now we get another one of these. We have a 7 cluster clue. It has to go at least here to make 2 tiles, which completes the 2, and then 3 tiles, which completes the 2, and then this 1 tile is done, and then 4 tiles, which completes the 2, 5 tiles, which completes the 2, 6 tiles, which completes the 2, and the 1 is done, and the final tile has to be here, completing this 7 cluster. And then we move on here. We've left some stuff we can do later on as well, or earlier. So right here. Like so. And then up here as well. Can't do anything more than that. Now, I believe we look at... Oh boy. Yeah, this is where it gets a little tricky. Shit. Yeah, this is where I hoped I wouldn't get stuck again. I guess we can look at the 16 already. It's just, again, hard to keep track of exactly where you can look at what and so on. But here, we have a 16, and this is a little tricky thing that'll come up later again. So if we count the 16, we have 6 tiles here, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we need 3 more tiles. We know one of these 2 tiles has to be marked for the 2, so that's 14 tiles. And then we know we need 2 more tiles in this 4 cluster for the 16. So where are the tiles that the 4 can occupy to complete itself? We can either have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4. So this point is the highest, the farthest away point that the 4 can reach, or this point. So these 2 tiles, like these 6 tiles, are the potential area for this 4, no matter which configuration it will be in. So that means we need 2 tiles in these 4 black tiles, or stable tiles. So once again, we had all of this counted, we had 13 tiles, 14 here, 15, 16 here, so these 2 tiles cannot contain reactive tiles. That gets us a 0, completes this 4 cluster, and now completes this 16 area. Now we look at this 9, which has 4 tiles here, 7 tiles total, 9 tiles total, and this area's done. There we go. Now we skip past... Oh god, where do we go now? It's not the 10 here. Is it down here? Yeah, we can look at this 13 now, because it's the same thing as the 14 area. 12, what was it? The area we just did with the 4 clue. So we count here, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we need 4 more tiles in this area. And once again, we have 2 4 clusters that, well, not once again, but now this time we have 2 4 clusters that both need 2 more tiles. And neither of them can go outside of the area in the 13. If this tile wasn't marked, then it could have gone 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would have been harder to, you can't count for that. Or whatever. Sorry, that's a bad way to explain it. But anyway, we once again have this 4 cluster that can only reach up until this area. Same reasoning, it can go here or here, here and here, here and here, or here and here. So these 6 tiles will contain 2 more tiles, or these 4 tiles rather. And same here, these 4 tiles will contain 2 more tiles. So because we had 9 tiles total, we'll have 11 tiles, and then 13 tiles, so these 3 tiles in the center cannot be marked. And that now lets us complete this 4, and this 2 lets us complete this 4. And we can go up until that point here, and this way, up until that point. Now, I swear there was like a 6 area clue that was somewhere, and I forgot, but whatever, we can look at this 8 here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we know one of these 2 have to be marked for the 2, so none of these tiles can be marked here. And because of that, we know one of these tiles will be marked for the 2, but this 3 needs 3 tiles, so it can have 1 tile here, and then it needs 2 and 3, which completes this 1, and lets us mark this tile. This 1 is done, and now we get the same thing again. Well, we get these 3, and then here for the 4 clue, we have 3 tiles, we need 1 more, and once again, we can use either this tile or this tile, both of which border this tile, so it cannot be marked, so we can remove that. And we know we need one of these 2 tiles, so for this 3, we can at most have one of these, and we'll need 2 and 3. Because of that, now we cannot mark this tile anymore, or this would create one single chain of 6 tiles for this 4, so we have to disconnect it here and mark this tile, and then disconnect it from the 6. And then this 4 here, and we can do a little bit here up until that point. We can't look at the 15 yet, and I believe we can look at this 7 now, so we have 3 tiles here. Keep in mind it does not account for the ones outside in this chain, so 3, 4, we'll need 1 tile here, making it 5, and then 6 and 7 in these 3 tiles, so none of these tiles can be marked. And then we get this one, and these 2, which now completes this 2, and we get that final tile for the 3. And that. Now we can look at this 11 here. This 11 has 7 tiles in this 7 cluster, then 8, 9, we'll need 1 here for 10, and we'll need 1 here for 11, so this final tile cannot be marked. That gets us a 1, and since we know one of these 2 tiles, which are bordering the 1, will have a tile, these 2 tiles cannot be marked. That now leaves only one option for the 2, completing this 1, and completing this other 2. This 5 has to go down here, which is now a complete cluster, so that's done. Now we can probably look at this 11 here, I think. We have 5 tiles here, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and one of these 2 will be marked for the 11th tile, so these 4 tiles cannot be marked. Now here's the 6 I was thinking of, yeah. Let's just solve these tiles to begin with. You can do this one in kind of a lot of different orders, which is why when I did this the first time I got to this part much earlier. That's why I also can't just like cut out an error and just get back to the same point, because there's no telling if I'll solve it in the same way. But here we have a 6 area clue, and we have 6 tiles already, so all of these tiles are removed. Here we get the same thing again. 6 cluster has to go here for 2, completing this tile, then 3, and then this 4 tile letting us mark all of these, completing the 6 cluster, so we disconnect it from everything else. Just simple tile solving there. Nothing to really think about. Up until that point. Alright, now we have to start by looking at the 8 here, I believe. We have 3 tiles here, 6 tiles, 7 tiles, and one of these 2 have to be marked, so these 3 tiles cannot be marked. That gives us a 1 here, and this 0. We can continue solving here up until that point, and then here, this 2 will need one of these 2 tiles, which will complete this 1, so this tile can't be marked. But that's all we can do there for right now. Now we go down to, oh, this 1 is done. Up until that point, now, we don't look at this 9, we instead look at the 12 here. So if you count the 12, we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then for this 3, we'll need 11 and 12 in these tiles, so these 3 tiles cannot be marked. Now this 1 is already done, letting us mark these 2 tiles, and now we can go and look at the 9 here, which has 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we'll need 9 in here, so these tiles are removed. There we go, up until that point. Now we can probably look at this 11, I think. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... No, we cannot. Okay, not the 11, not yet. Yeah, this is where it gets a little confusing again. This 8 we can look at. So here we have 4 tiles, 5 and 6, 7, and we'll need 8 for this too. So these tiles are gone. And just solve this like normal. As far as you can. Leave that for a moment. Up until that point. Now this 4 has 3 tiles already, we need 1 more, and yet again it has to be either this tile or this tile, meaning this bordering tile cannot be marked. And once again we get a 3, and we can only use one of these 2, so 1, 2, and 3, and once again we cannot connect up this tile or it would make a chain of 6, so that has to be disconnected, giving this final tile for the 4 cluster. That now has completed this 2, so we go on this way. Up until that point, which gives us a 4 cluster that's already done. And there we go. And now we still can't look at the 10 here. We look at the 5 here. This 5 has 2 tiles here, 4 tiles here, and then it needs one of these 2 for the 5th tile, so none of these other tiles can be marked. Now we get that, completing that area. And here we have a 6 cluster that only has 4 tiles so far. We can only use one of these 2 tiles for this 2 cluster, so if we were to use this tile, this 2 would, not 2 cluster, 2 tile. If we were to use this 2 tile would be done, so this tile would have to be removed, and that would leave us with only 5 tiles for this 6 cluster. So this tile cannot be marked, we have to remove that and connect up to this final tile, making it a 6 cluster. And now finally, we count the 12 here. We have 4, we have 8, we have 10, we have 12, so we cannot mark either of these 2 tiles. So there we go. I think I explained it overall a lot better that time than either of the other 2 attempts. So, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed, thanks for watching, and next time I guess we'll go for Allium or something, and I don't know, we'll see. I'll see you then. Bye-bye!